Hi, I'm Jarrad Brown, Australian expat financial planner based here in Singapore. Thank you very much for tuning into this video. Today we're in the middle of April, closing on the end of April, and I'd just like to share with you a little bit about what life is like in Singapore as we hopefully exit this post-pandemic world. What does everyday life look like? What does working in the office look like? Just to share some insights, particularly if you're considering moving to Singapore, relocating back to Singapore potentially, or if you're currently residing elsewhere and looking at your options. So I hope you find this video insightful. I hope it gives you a bit of an insight into what life is like here currently. So let's dive right in. Now, we've seen a number of the rules change here in Singapore. We're not going to dive into the specifics around case numbers or numbers of people in the ICU, but simply what does everyday life look like for an Australian living here in Singapore as we exit or enter this sort of post-pandemic life. So a couple of the highlights. First and foremost, a great Aussie tradition. We can all finally have barbecues again in our condos. There are many condos. For anyone who doesn't know what a condo is, it's simply another word for a unit, an apartment. So for those expats living in apartment complexes, our barbecues largely are reopened. So we can finally have groups of 10 people, including ourselves, down having a barbecue, having a great time by the pool, and back into that good old Aussie outdoor meal and entertainment. So a great change to the lifestyle here, and finally we can return to that one. The second big change that we've seen is that we can now have drinks, alcoholic beverages I'm speaking about here, on our table after 10:30 at night. Prior to this change, most bars were removing all beer, wine, alcoholic beverages from the tables by 10 p.m, which basically meant that the nightlife did not exist post 10:30 in Singapore. That has all completely changed. That restriction is gone. We are still capped at a maximum of 10 people, but we can now go out, enjoy ourselves, thankfully a bit of a breath of fresh air to the F&B space in Singapore. So a big improvement if you're looking to visit Singapore as a tourist, a great time to come. The third big change that we've seen happen is we are back at 75% in the office, and we no longer need to do the ART tests to come into the office each day or each week. Now, for the Australians watching this who don't know what an ART test is, in most of Australia it's referred to as a RAT test. Same thing, self-administered COVID test. Once you're all clear, you can come into the office. So we're now back at 75% of people allowed into the office. Most people are back, most expats are back. So that's resulted obviously in a lot more people out at lunch, dinner, drinks after work. The nightlife is starting to return. So again, a huge improvement on the rules here. The fourth big change that we've seen happen is travel is back. We no longer need to do so many tests to exit the country, re-enter the country. A lot of the quarantine measures have been removed. If you're coming in from Australia, you don't need to isolate, you don't need to quarantine, so you can simply land into one of the greatest airports in the world and simply go about your business. So if you're looking to travel, visit family, if you're looking to return to Australia and visit friends or family, it's a whole lot easier now. So certainly a very big improvement. The fifth and final improvement that I'd really like to highlight in this video is we no longer have to wear masks outdoors. Now, it sounds like a small change, but in Singapore we have had masks enforced for a little bit over 2 years now, and now they are voluntary or not mandatory if you are outside. If you're inside, in the office, in the lifts, in a restaurant, you must wear your mask while you're not eating or drinking, but if you're outside, it is totally up to you. So naturally for most, particularly Australian expats, we can wander around without our masks on. It's a lot more free, the weather is warm, so it makes a huge difference to everyday life in Singapore, and I think a lot of us are grateful for that change. I hope this gives you a bit of an insight into what life is like in Singapore. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions at all, drop me a note in the comments. Please remember to subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time.